I'm Adam Todd, and welcome to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. I believe that the best way to engage students in a 21st century classroom is to immerse them with the transformative tools that will empower each and every one of them to excel in the future world that awaits. My focus is to ignite the spark that propels you and your students into an advanced tomorrow, and your journey into that future starts right now. Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Capture every educational moment in stunning detail and edit, produce, and share your creative journey with ease. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education, transforming classrooms one innovation at a time. Calling all educators. Are you ready to inspire creativity and engagement in your students? Unlock their full potential with content creation. Imagine empowering them with cutting-edge tools like the Blue Sona microphone from Logitech, which ensures crystal clear audio quality for impactful projects. Logitech offers a full range of content creation solutions, from audio equipment and cameras to lighting and editing software. Plus, they have a suite of education solutions tailored for classrooms, elevating the learning experience for students and educators alike. Empower the next generation of creators by exploring the possibilities at logitech.com/education today.
For over 20 years, Higher Ground has designed functional technology protection, helping students to work or learn anytime, anywhere. I'm Mark, president of Higher Ground, and I want to share with you how you can get a free sample of any of our rugged shells, sleeves, or clear backpacks. Visit hggear.com/sample and use your school's email and address. One thing, don't tell Alex because he'll be stuck with all the paperwork. Request yours and see for yourself how Higher Ground can help save your students and school downtime and money. Just remember, don't tell Alex.
Mark, what are all these sample requests filling my inbox?
Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we get into the exciting world of technology in education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and today we're talking about Archer, an AI-powered math tutor and its impact on support for both students and teachers in math education. All teachers know that delivering precise, personalized support, especially in subjects like math, poses a perpetual challenge. Archer steps into this arena as an AI-powered math tutor, promising a new level of assistance and engagement for both students and teachers. So what sets Archer apart from other AI-powered tools? Well, imagine a virtual tutor that adapts to individual learning styles, all the while offering real-time feedback and personalized support assistance by harnessing the power of artificial intelligence to create a dynamic and interactive learning experience. Today, we're taking an in-depth look at what Archer is and how it functions as an AI-powered math tutor. From tailoring explanations to providing practice problems and differentiated feedback, Archer is redefining the learning journey for not only students, but teachers as well. So how does Archer address the varied needs of students, from those who need additional support to those craving more advanced challenges? Well, the answer is coming up as we sit down and chat with one of its founders, Simon Nicholas. So don't X out just yet. We'll be right back. Are you a dedicated educator searching for fresh and engaging resources to inspire your students? Look no further than Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. Discover a treasure trove of easy-to-use lesson plans, vibrant visuals, and interactive activities designed to captivate young minds and ignite their love for learning. Unlock the potential within your classroom with Highly Motivated, from differentiated lap books to test prep passages on a multitude of topics. Our wide range of materials cater to most elementary and middle school grade levels. Join the community of passionate teachers who have already transformed their classrooms. Visit Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers and get ready to inspire, motivate, and empower your students like never before. Highly motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers, where knowledge meets inspiration.
Have you ever thought, I have 25 kids in my algebra class at 25 different levels. I differentiate, but I have so many students, so much grading to do, and so many assignments to make, plus I need to follow the curriculum. Or maybe you've thought, I teach the pre-calc and my students are so bright, but their algebra skills aren't there. How can you crush pre-calculus if you can't factor a quadratic? Or how about this one? Everyone says AI can help me build assignments and assessments, but have you tried using it for math? AI stinks at math. Introducing Archer, the teacher-controlled, AI-powered math tutor designed to elevate students at all levels. Built by a veteran teacher and tutor, Archer uses the most advanced AI technology to help kids through any math problem, diagnose, analyze, and evaluate student work, and build personalized learning capsules to engage students and meet them wherever they are. Find out more by emailing us at hi, that's H-I, at okarcher.com, or by following us on X at ArcherEdAI.
During nationwide trials of Archer AI, students not only gave Archer high marks, but more importantly, demonstrated genuine positive learning outcomes. The rationale behind Archer's holistic tutoring approach traces back to its creator, Simon Nicholas. Armed with a background in education, Simon initially served as an 8th grade math teacher in a prominent public middle school in Philadelphia. Subsequently, he transitioned into tutoring in New York City, and in 2021, Simon established his own venture called Simon's Class, collaborating with schools to provide high-quality, intensive test preparation tutoring for students who lacked access. Through his career, Simon has been driven by a persistent concern. The effectiveness of rigorous and supportive tutoring is evident, but its accessibility is often limited, perpetuating a cycle of disadvantage. During the building process, Simon found a like-minded collaborator in his former college roommate, Ben Sack, an accomplished software engineer and entrepreneur. With nearly 2 decades of experience, Ben Sack has an impressive track record, having founded PushBuild, worked with Fortune 500 companies, and served as the CTO of FaZe Clan during its ascent to a $1 billion valuation. Most notably, Ben possesses expertise in artificial intelligence, which has now led to Archer AI. And after years of contemplation on potential educational technology solutions that could address the urgent needs that Simon identified, the duo officially joined forces in early 2023 to create Archer, and within a remarkably brief period of just 2 months, they developed a product and initiated a trial at a charter school in Nashville. Since then, Archer has engaged with students in schools across the nation, becoming a transformative force in 21st century education. Please welcome Simon Nicholas to Classroom Dynamics to talk all about Archer AI. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
I love this because I'm a huge fan of AI, especially for teachers, just for, just the idea of getting additional support, getting ideas, and just making life a little bit easier when I can. And I'm sure teachers who are finding artificial intelligence that same way, that when you can just make it a little bit easier, it makes a whole, world of difference sometimes. But let's talk about Archer AI. What exactly Archer AI is, what does it do? And of course, where did the name come from?
Okay. Well, I'll get to that, not that interesting answer to the second part of that question last. As for what Archer is, it's really the culmination of my 15-year career in education, both as a public school teacher and as a private tutor. And if you've had both of those jobs, it is very difficult not to be smacked in the face with a really troubling problem, which is that we have so many students in this country who are way behind in math. The pandemic learning loss only made that much worse. We know that rigorous, outstanding tutoring can make a huge difference, but the people who generally have the best access to that kind of tutoring and who can afford that kind of tutoring are not necessarily the people who need it the most. Those people don't have that access. So I've long been obsessed with this problem of how do we take what we know works and bring it to the people who need it the most. Fortunately for me, my college roommate and my friend of 20 years, Ben, is a brilliant software engineer and technological builder. And we've talked for a long time about building something that could make a real impact, make a real difference in education in general and math education specifically. So a little over a year ago now, by the time this is airing, We started the company Archer, which is a virtual math tutor powered by AI that can work directly with students, work with teachers, or on a broader level, work with schools. So when I say that Archer is a tutor, what do I mean by that in the fullest sense? What is a tutor? So in a really simple sense, when a student uses Archer, they're presented with a math problem, a topic that's been diagnosed that they need to work on, and they see the problem on their screen, and they're asked to solve that problem. But along with the problem, they're given empty spaces, empty step boxes. And in those boxes, they can ask Archer for guidance along the way. They can ask Archer to check their work, see if they've made an error somewhere along that path. And Archer will say, you did a great job on this step. Then you did this part really well. Seems like there's a slight misunderstanding here, or maybe you made a slight miscalculation on that point. So Archer will check work. Archer will rephrase questions to make them easier to understand. Archer, if a student asks, if a student says, I'm stuck, Archer will go back and say, like, okay, well, what do you see in this problem? It'll, like a good tutor should, it'll prompt them to see the things that they already know. And if the student needs Archer to really walk them through a problem, Archer will do that too. And that's a key part of what any tutor will do, and Archer will do that. But a great tutor doesn't just help kids work through problems. A great tutor also plans curriculum, diagnoses and assesses where a student needs to start. Archer does that. A great tutor also builds specific materials just for that student based on that student's needs. Archer does that. A great tutor, if they need to give direct instruction, if a student really doesn't know how to do something, a great tutor needs to be able to teach. Archer, through its allows you to have multimedia upload, so you can share videos, notes, PowerPoints, whatever. So Archer can do that. And then finally, a great tutor is constantly reassessing when the kid needs to be re-supported in old topics, if there's something that fell through the cracks, or if that student's ready to be pushed ahead. And Archer does that through its evaluation and analysis tool. So that is what Archer is. The name, this is so boring. I Googled famous math tutors and Archimedes came up, and I thought that is a bad name for a company. But if you shorten it to Archer, it is not a bad name for a company. And therefore Archer was born.
There you go. So it's actually, no, I think that's pretty clever.
It was clever. Good luck. It was good luck.
Well, you know what? It does work for sure. It does work. It has a nice ring to it. So
it does.
So with the tutoring and that back and forth, it's almost as if you have a live person next to you, except it's the artificial intelligence that is kind of pinging you through that road in that two-way street, so to speak.
That's right. And I really like the way that you phrase that, because something that this new generation of students is going to know better than we know, better than our generations will understand, is how to interact with AI, right? So it's not Google, right? You don't just say, how do I do this? And then it tells you the answer. That is not what it's best at, nor is it the maximum value of what it can do. If you think about Archer as a tutor, as not a person, and I want to be really clear, the most important thing that a tutor does, or one of the most important things, is build a relationship with a kid, get to know that kid when they're feeling bad and motivated. And Archer is not replacing that. That cannot be done. But certainly that if you think about Archer as a math guide or as a problem guide, not just as a search engine, if a student really engages in that back and forth, they're going to learn. And they're going to be able to engage in that really powerful friction of, I don't know how to do something, someone is guiding me to push myself through and then learn it. That's how learning happens. It's I've heard students describe it as like, I saw a student describe who had been behind in math, and then he became proficient. He said, I really like math. I kind of hate math, but then I get things right and I like math. Mm-hmm. And like there is something powerful about like working through it, and that's what Archer's there for.
Is that almost like that little nudge that you kind of need just to get to the next level, and to work to get to the next level again?
That's right. And one of my favorite things, this was an adjustment, a change, but that is so important, that nudge and that encouragement. In a lot of current math platforms and in Archer originally, if a student put the wrong answer in and then submitted and was wrong, it would say kindly, you're wrong. And then it would say, here's how to do the problem. But I thought, that's sort of not the point, right? The point is not to say like you got it right, you got it wrong, thumbs up, thumbs down. The point is to learn. So now when a student gets a question wrong, instead of being told you're wrong, time to move on to the next question, here's how you do it, good luck next time, they are prompted back into their work. And they're told like, okay, that was incorrect. Look, like there's a misunderstanding here, there, or somewhere. What do you think you can, and they're kind of pushed to keep going. Ultimately, of course, it's not like an endless loop. You can click view solution and Archer will say like, are you sure you want to view solution? Because then you'll be marked wrong and you can give up, but it's not easy to give up. And I think that's really important.
That's awesome. I know on your social media, the Twitter feed, you really showcase this process a lot. That provoking, trying to get them to move on and try it and work at it and actually do it and accomplish that.
That's right. That's right. What matters is student learning, and students don't learn by just being shown how to do something once. They learn from doing and from struggling and from overcoming.
So besides the obvious, with artificial intelligence at its core, how does Archer AI distinguish itself from traditional tutoring methods where you would have a person physically sitting next to you with paper and pencil, working it out with the kids versus this artificial intelligence format?
Yeah. Well, I really love the framing of the questions where you say, aside from the AI, because I think it's really important not to get swept up in the cool stuff about the technology. What matters is, again, you can't replace a person next to you, but what can you do to give the student the next best thing and then give them things that a person who's next to you can't do in the moment. So I would say that a traditional view of tutoring, and this is not necessarily the best form of tutoring, but I think it's probably the most common, would be, let's say you're a student and you're struggling with your math homework. So you go to the tutoring center or you go to a peer tutor. You say, I'm struggling with this problem and this problem and this problem. And the teacher or the tutor, or the peer tutor will say like, oh, or the website, whatever it is, will say like, cool, here are the steps you need to take to the problem. And the better the tutor they are, the more they're going to engage you. And that's great. But a really great tutor isn't just looking at that moment. A really great tutor is looking back and looking forward. So in a real world example, that might be like, let's say I have a student who has a test on absolute value or something like that. So she brings me her study guide for absolute value that the teacher provided. And she says, like, I got through these problems. I'm struggling with these problems. Can we work on these things? Well, we can work through that study guide, but let's say I noticed that one of the problems, she knew how to do it, but she had trouble. There was one step involving dividing by a fraction and she got that wrong. So she got the problem wrong. Well, a great tutor is going to say like, hey, we should probably pause and make sure that you really have that concept locked down. It's not what's being tested explicitly, but it could be embedded in what you need to know. And it's going to be a problem down the road. So a great tutor should be able to adjust on the fly, but they may not have the material on the fly. Well, Archer can have that material on the fly. Like, okay, you messed up that fraction operation. I saw in your steps that's the thing you messed up. The concept you understood, but the fractions you screwed up. Here's what I recommend you take. Here's a PDF notes I recommend. Here's a video I recommend. And here are problem sets that I recommend that we work through now on that remediation process. But there's also looking ahead. So looking at that same hypothetical absolute value study guide, well, a teacher doesn't generally just give a test based on the study guide, right? I mean, then everybody would do perfectly the same. What they like to do is use the study guide to make sure a student understands the concept and understands the content and can apply it to something more challenging. So a great tutor might say like, okay, you got this down, but I bet your teacher's going to ask you questions to apply this concept to a word problem. What might that look like? Can you do that? Now that tutor is going to have to make up a problem on the fly. Archer's not going to have to do that. Archer's going to see like that same thing of, you got this down. Are you ready to be pushed ahead? You really need to be pushed ahead. I'm ready for you. And those are areas where Archer can mimic great tutors, though it will never replace that relationship component. And we're not going to seek to do that. That would be weird. It definitely can supplement strongly the academic component.
So there you have your assessment. You're analyzing the student's performance. you have that information that it's taking in, and then doing that personalization adjustment to that learning experience for the individual students.
That's right.
That's
That's
amazing.
right. That's right.
So, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit as well with some of the success stories that you've had, but what kind of feedback have you received from students who have utilized Archer, and
Yeah.
what kind of learning outcomes have they had in terms of where they started
Yeah.
and then where they kind of finished up?
Sure. So I'll give you a few examples. Here's my favorite student feedback. Was so because we got started before the proliferation of AI. So we had before we knew we'd be using AI. So because we have this mission of ending math learning loss. And then with the use of AI, with the advent of AI, we were able to apply that very quickly. So we got a trial running in April of 2023 with a charter school in Tennessee. And we did ACT math pullouts for small groups of sophomores and for juniors. And all that we did was we just gave them a select number of topics that they had struggled with on diagnostic tests. And we wanted to see over the course of a month if they could master those same types of problems. So very first day, I'm very nervous. I've worked with my students my whole professional life, but this is new to me, building a product, seeing how kids like it. It's a little bit different.
That could go any way, couldn't it?
Oh yeah. So I'm talking like this. I want this to go well. This is a very beta version of this product. And I'm talking to the students, and I'm explaining what it is and asking them how much they know about AI. This is a long time ago. And I get through speaking and I say, okay, does anybody have any questions? And one of the students, his name is Aiden, says, I don't have a question, just have a comment. I don't see the point of this. This is before he saw anything or did anything. Said, I don't see the value. So I was like, I tried to explain, like, well, you can interact with this in a certain way. He's like, yeah, okay, we'll see. The end of the story is that kid within like 2 weeks became my #1 zealot proselytizer for Archer. It was so satisfying.
Wow.
I don't know what the moment was exactly. I think it was something where he had to do something involving radian to degree conversions, and he just didn't know how to do it. And he asked Archer, and Archer taught him how to do it. He was a smart fella. He picked it up quick. And he was the guy in that class that whenever anybody tried to ask me a question, he would say, like, don't ask him. Ask Archer. That's the whole beauty of it. It was really gratifying to see. And that group of kids, we saw really tremendous improvement in those topics. Each kid, from their diagnostics were a little all over the place, but the highest was probably 50%. And they were all at 90% proficiency in those select ACT topics by the time they were done, all 8 kids. We also ran a really successful trial with a math pullout, a math intervention class. So these are kids who were scoring much lower, whose algebra skills, they had like a Zoom in a room sort of algebra class for a year. And for the first month of that school year, we supplemented, we really were their math intervention course. And it was really cool because you had kids who were English language learners for whom the barrier had not been the math, it had been the language. And we were able to translate their problems immediately and their hints immediately into Spanish. And all of a sudden you saw, oh, this kid totally knows how to do the math. And then we had kids who didn't know how to solve one-step equations. You had lots of kids who couldn't do really specific things that Archer was able to diagnose. Like if the question was 2x minus 3 equals 5, they could do it. But if it was 5 minus 3x equals 2, they just change where the x is, suddenly totally confused. And we saw what we saw was like 38% improvement in proficiency in just 1 month, two classes a week, 45 minutes a week. So that was really cool.
That's high school level? High school level?
That was 9th graders. Those were 9th graders.
Okay.
Excuse me, those are 10th graders. 10th graders. They had taken an algebra class previous year.
Right.
And then most recently, this was really cool. So I have I know you do have kids, and like the most proud you ever are of your children is when you realize that they are better at something than you are, at least for me. Like my 5-year-old, she's a really great artist and I'm a horrible artist. And when I realized she was already better than I was so proud. So because she was doing things I couldn't do. So we have a trial running, more than a trial running now. We have a real partnership with a school in Virginia. And it's a physics and chemistry teacher there. So not a math teacher. It's not what we had initially been built to do. But he heard about Archer and he wanted to try it out in his class, and he had a whole vision for it. And we were like, okay, man, like go for it. Like we don't really, that's not what we're doing right now, not what we're building right now. But if you think this will be effective in your classroom, go for it. So we would see on the server like all this activity from Virginia, all these kids in Virginia constantly using Archer to do science problems, and we weren't hearing much from the teacher. So, he said things are going great. So I decided to go to Virginia to observe the class and sort of see what was going on. And what I saw, which was so cool, was what he had done is instead of this sort of problem by problem, you have the kid work through a physics problem, whatever, he had built one long problem set into a problem. And he had paired the students up, and the students were doing sort of a scaffolded review of various physics concepts before their final. And the kids were like arguing about each part of the problem. And as they thought they got each part of the problem, they would just click check my work. And if they got it right, they were able to move on. And if not, they would go back and argue about it. And they had questions like, hey, there was some question about the first law of thermodynamics. They just asked Archer, what's the first law of thermodynamics? And then they were able to argue about whether something violated that law or not. I don't even remember what it was, but I just stepped back and was watching these kids really proficiently learning from just from their teacher, right? They're learning from their teacher, but the teacher was so super powered by Archer. It was an incredible sense of pride and accomplishment. So those are my like light bulb moments that stand out awesome. from what I've seen students using.
That's great. So what are your favorite features of Archer? If you had to pick out one or two, you're a kid and you're working through it. What's your favorite feature?
I can tell you what the kids' favorite feature is, which is check my work. Kids love check my work. No matter how good they are at the work, they want to check their work. If they think they're getting it right, they just want to make sure. I hadn't anticipated that. But I thought they'd be more into the sort of just help. But they really like to know that they're doing it right along the way. That's their favorite feature. My favorite feature is, like I said, it's hard to give up. And I think that's important because as we've developed, again, as you kind of grow as a tech product, you can be tricked into thinking we need to do more and more new. But really, humans know how to teach and tutor. And like making sure kids don't give up is a human skill. So Archer's refusal to just let you quit so easily with that cycling you back into the problem. I really love that feature. We also made a change where we had a button that said ask hint. Kids test for too many hints. So we bagged that. It's like you can figure out if you're a kid, if you keep asking for hints, you can kind of, get halfway closer to the answer every time. What's the point of that? So we've changed it to I'm stuck. And what happens when you hit I'm stuck is not great. Well, here's a hint. Instead, it's okay. Well, look at the problem. What are the things you're prompted back into questions to ask yourself. Those are my favorite features of Archer because those are the things that I recognize an educator should do.
So it's funny. We had my daughter try it, a couple of weeks ago, and I think at first she had that same mentality of, I don't know if this is going to help me. And to be honest, and to be very truthful, she is that kind of human interaction kind of person.
Oh yeah.
She loves technology. Don't get me wrong. She didn't think it was going to be something that she could use. And she tried it and struggled at first getting to, know the program. But that's normal. But once that started happening, there was that moment where like, okay, it is hard to give up. It was very easy to ask for the hint. That's true. And I'm glad that was changed.
That's why we got rid of it.
Right?
I saw it. She was one of the people I noticed. It was a few things at once, but she was a data point where it was like, she's trying to get the right answer. And I get it. That's your inclination as a kid. You want to get it right.
Right.
But you got to learn it.
Right.
So
and that's the great point.
Yeah.
That's the great point about it, because what I liked about it was besides asking for that hint to get to that next step, to then maybe do that, okay, and now I'm getting it, now I see it, I'm learning it. That started to happen a lot faster, where she started to learn the process and, like you just mentioned, asked herself the questions. What do I
Yeah.
have to do? Where did I mess up? I got this part right. I'm stuck here. What did I do? And so there was that internal thinking and internal self-assessment going on, which I thought was even better than probably learning the math itself. Just the fact that it
That's
was
right.
figuring it out, learning how to figure something out, because that is a process. Learning how to do something, especially in math. I mean, that really is probably the one subject in the world that does get kids stuck in the mud sometimes. They sometimes get
Yeah.
very, there's that negative feeling sometimes if they're not doing it or not catching on, and then they kind of just shut down. And I think just the
Yeah.
learning process of how to do it and how to look back and how to figure things out was huge.
Yeah. And, kids identify, unfortunately, some of them are told or they identify very early on as, I'm not a math kid. That doesn't mean anything. Like, that just means it hasn't clicked with you yet, but anybody can be a math kid.
Right.
It doesn't have to be some inherent quality within you that you are one way or the other. And I think one of the funny things about being a teacher is to be an accomplished teacher or tutor is not to accomplish something yourself or it's to get others to accomplish things.
Mhm.
And it's not broad. Look at me, look how wonderful I can do this. Wonderfully I can teach this math concept or do this math problem. Your success is the student's understanding. And that's what we're really striving to continue to build.
And that's a real sobering kind of idea, right? Like doing it
Yeah.
on your own and learning the process. And I think that's the coolest part about it.
Yeah, it's also the best part about
Right?
education too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned one improvement enhancement that was made recently. Are there any other future enhancements that are planned for Archer
Yeah.
AI down the line? Any expansions, or in this case, something
Mm-hmm.
that will happen? Or is it like with just artificial intelligence where it learns the student and it just happens organically?
Sure. Well, starting with what we're going to leaving the AI side of it aside for the moment, because those enhancements are going to be exponential and we're going to apply them as, I mean, for example, image recognition is a huge thing. It's already by the time, we're talking now, it's been about a month or so since we're talking that we've been able to really generate scatter plots, things like that, parallel lines cut by a transversal, things like that. And that kind of ability, drawing figures, drawing shapes, that's only going to get better and better and better on the AI side of things. On the pure Archer side of things, we have a few things. The first is we are offering right now an SAT math product. And the point is not just to get kids using it and, have kids with the SATs. The point is to have for schools who know that they want their students to succeed on the math portion of the SAT, this new digital SAT. It's a new product. There's not that much material out there. Kids, it's high stakes for kids, and kids at school often don't have, again, like they don't have access to that great, to really curated quality knowledge. So we're offering that SAT course now. I'm really interested in expanding what our problems are like and what our learning materials are like to be more inclusive of different learning styles. So one of the great promises, I think, of AI technology is that it doesn't have to be binary. You got it right, you got it wrong. It can be more exploratory. And we're trying to build that component into our curriculum too. And finally, we're expanding to, based off the success of our physics and chemistry program in Virginia, we're expanding that. We're really dedicating ourselves to building a broader STEM curriculum. So those are the things that are coming up for Archer and that we continue to build.
I think that's a very natural next step going into STEM
Yeah.
like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So just tell teachers and administrators all over the world, where can they go to get started with Archer?
Well, I'd recommend checking out our website, checking out our demos. That's okarcher.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at ArcherEdAI. And really, if you're interested, you can email us and just email me at simon@okarcher.com. And I'm happy to sort of help teachers get started. We're planning a professional development this summer because our goal is not to make a whiz bang quick product. It's to build something that really people can deeply learn and understand and have a real impact. And we want to have a full professional development to get teachers comfortable using it and get students really comfortable using it too. So look out for that too.
That's awesome. That's good. I mean, but that just showing that there's a little bit more depth to it. And, like you said, it's not just a bells and whistles kind of program. It's something to actually, there's a goal to have the kids learn how to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Great. Well, listen, this has been really informative. I think it's open, even just AI has opened a lot of eyes, but just the program that you're building has definitely opened up a lot of eyes, and just for that support for teachers and students alike. I love that. Congratulations. I think it's a great program. I think that it's something that kids are really, and even teachers are going to find very helpful, parents alike.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate that, Adam, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Anytime. You can come back when we start adding more to this program. I like it.
All right. I'm gonna take you up on that.
That's awesome. Well, for all of you who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure you share what you've learned or any takeaways or reflections that you already had. Tag us on Twitter at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. We always love to hear your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. I'd like to thank Simon Nicholas again from Archer for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. It's been a pleasure having you with us. And like I said, we'll have you back again.
Thanks, Adam.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Classroom Dynamics, where knowledge and inspiration meets innovation. I hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and found it both insightful and uplifting. As always, my goal is to provide you with practical strategies, engaging stories, and powerful insights that can fuel your motivation as an educator. I believe that when knowledge and inspiration do come together, incredible things can happen in your classroom. And for all of you who may feel that it's too late to strengthen your craft, I challenge you to make it your mission to do so. You've worked hard to get to where you are today, and it's never too late to infuse new life into your work. So why not make today that day to do so? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. You can follow Classroom Dynamics on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you know a teacher who may benefit from today's show, please share it with them. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep igniting that spark in your classroom and never stop believing in the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. If you like this episode, you'll enjoy my episode with Dr. Barbara Hubert, the Senior Director of Learning Design at BrainPop. In this engaging conversation, we discover how BrainPop designs its content to cater to a diversity of learners, ensuring that education is accessible and engaging for all. Dr. Hubert takes us on a journey through the thought process behind the creation of BrainPop's beloved characters, including Tim and Moby, and explores the fascinating history behind these educational personas.
I often hear subject matter teachers say, gosh, I need to help my kids with their literacy skills, but I'm a social studies teacher, or a science teacher, or a technology teacher. Like, help. How do I do that? I can't do both, right? Yeah. Like, I don't have time to teach those literacy skills. And then there's another camp that says, but we're all literacy teachers. And like BrainPop really holds that ethos and says like, but we are, and we're going to embed those literacy skills, which are just their meaning making, comprehension, vocab acquisition skills into different subjects and sort of help do a little bit of the lift for you.